had to leave me, baby. You left those promises wilting on the floor. You saying it was the best for me, baby. And then I watched you walk on out the door. I tell you out of town, in jail in my heart. Cry me a river and then cry some more. I heard you follow the breadcrumbs back to her. I hope you remember what you got in store. Does she do you right? Does she know the soul of your heart? Have you learned how not to fight? Does she know the loving is enough? Does she do you right? What's that behind your eyes? Does she do you right? I found my ways of moving on, baby. So now you know that I mean you no harm. It's just that I heard you asking around about me, baby. Is she missing something about your charm? I know we found desire, love and destiny. Perhaps you had no ears for the alarms. Wonder why there was always so much questioning, always beating me back down to the song. Does she do you right? Does she know the soul of your heart? Have you learned how not to fight? Does she know the loving is enough? Does she do you right? What's that behind your eyes? Does she do you right? Loving and losing is a game we play, baby. Losing and losing, then coming back for more. When will we be done with all this bullshit, baby? Throwing down, trying to even up the score. You go ahead and try to show her off again. After all of this back and forth, I go ahead and find me a new bed to sleep in. You go ahead and make her feel like a whore. Does she do you right? Does she know the soul of your heart? Have you learned how not to fight? Does she know the loving is enough? Does she do you right? What's that inside your eyes? Does she do you right? Does she do you right?
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. Got a busy show scheduled for you today, like we always do. Don't forget the show's being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. If you need a limousine from someplace in the U.S., got to give my girl Cat a call. Just remember, she's my girl. 202-351-7496. That's 202-351-7496. Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service is the official limousine service of this year's Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend. Get-together, however you want to call it, November 16, 17, 18. Take advantage of early bird special that's going to be gone at the end of this month. And several of you have already done that. It's a smart move because it's based on two people, and it's a pretty good savings. So make sure you look into that. www.billycboxing.com. Click the Hall of Fame banner for information on that. Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service, 202-351-7496. The show is also being brought to you in part by Campanaro Tomkovich. If you need a lawyer, like I usually do a lot, you got to give my lawyers a call. Campanaro Tomkovich, 845-221-4099. Whether it's matrimonial law, whether it's a will or a way, no. Real estate law, criminal law, whatever. Give Campanaro Tomkovich a call, 845-221-4099. And, of course, my friends over at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls, New York. You're looking for a decent place to hang out. Better than decent. You're looking for a great place to hang out. Great people in there. And the best thing, food, baby. Food. Look at me. I'm a fat bastard. Trust me. I know about good food, and they have it at the Halftime Bar and Grill. Give them a call ahead if you want, 518-792-4869. Don't forget, we spend Friday night fights up there. And we watch Friday night fights on the big screen TVs. And we give away prizes and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you join in those reindeer games. Give them a call ahead, 518-792-4869, Halftime Bar and Grill. Today's feature artist, this week's feature artist, sponsored by RadioSubmit.com, features Rain Dogs. And that was a song called Does She Do You Right? Does She Do You Right? I don't know, pretty good stuff. I like that bluesy stuff, man. Yeah, I'm still under the weather. Still under the weather today. But we got Scotty Krause coming up to join us a little bit. We're going to be doing a new segment. Actually, he's going to do it. He's going to carry it today. Because, I'm going to have a hard enough time making it through the show. But Scotty's going to carry the hits from the 80s. We'll focus on great fights from the 80s, our era, so to speak. And today we're going to be talking about Vinny Pazienza against Greg Haugen, which took place on June 7th, 1987. Interesting fight. We'll be talking about that coming up in a little bit. Also, I'm going to be talking about Manny Pacquiao against Timothy Bradley. Looks like that's pretty much done, June 9th. Half the contracts are signed, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm also going to read some emails, but before I get into that, I just can't wait. Listen, BJ Flores is the biggest friggin' flaw. BJ Flores is the biggest, effing fraud the sport of boxing has to offer. He is a piece of garbage, okay? This guy, first of all, BJ Flores does and I mean this sincerely, and I've said it 100,000 times. He does a really, really good job in the studio whenever he does it. I've also heard him do some color commentating. Does a fantastic job, and I honestly think that BJ should go do that because as far as a fighter goes, he's a fraud. And this in the news, which I know that the Manny Pacquiao signing to fight Timothy Bradley is much hotter news than this. But it irks me so much I can't even look at it on my friggin' notes. All right, B.J. Flores was offered a fight to fight Ola Afolobi, who's got a record of 18 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws, only 8 knockouts. All right, now no disrespect for Ola Afolobi, but this isn't exactly a killer. All right, he's a quality fighter, no doubt, and he's ranked in the top 10, highly ranked in the top 10, but he's not exactly a young Mike Tyson. Okay, and B.J. Flores is a guy that tells anyone that will listen how good he is, how he'll fight anybody, anytime, and all of this stuff. Well, he was offered a fight to fight Ola Afolobi, and the number 1 ranking at stake. As a matter of fact, it was an interim title at stake, so he would get the real title shot should he win. And we're talking about March 3rd, so you're talking about a little less, 3 days less, 4 days less. Today's the 7th, 4 days less than 1 month out. All right, and B.J. Flores, he turns it down, and he says, and I quote, "I want this fight. I have been very active lately, and I'm ready for this type of challenge. But on 26 days' notice," is it 26 days' notice? Yeah, I guess with the short, February month, he says, and having to go to Germany, this is a very serious fight for a very serious title. It's an interim title. See, BJ, your name dictates what you should be doing. But the bottom line is, he says, I need a full 45 days of preparation. It's only fair. I've worked very hard for this opportunity, and combine that with a very, very low $25,000 purse offer. Doesn't seem like they really want this fight. No, B.J. Flores, you don't want this fight because you're a piece of shit. That's why. All right? The bottom line is this. Let's look at how busy B.J. Flores is. He's got a record of 27 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, 17 knockouts. He has fought 3 fights in the last 6 months. So by today's standards, he's extremely busy. Extremely busy. All right? But who's he fought? Going back to July of 2011, he fought Nicholas Iannuzzi. Nick Iannuzzi is another fraud. He's a 35-year-old ex-cop who didn't even train for this fight against B.J. Flores, and it took B.J. Flores 6 rounds, well, actually 5, when they told Iannuzzi it's time not to come out again. So what? He's going to be pounding his chest for a win against Nick Iannuzzi. Look at Nick Iannuzzi's record, and you show me one guy on his record that he beat that's a substantial opponent. Then he goes and fights Paul Jeanette in October of last year. 43 years old is Paul Jeanette, okay? And he struggled with him. He went 10 rounds with him. He couldn't even take care of Paul Jeanette. Paul Jeanette, there was not one fighter on Paul Jeanette's record. Not one. You find me one fighter on Paul Jeanette's record that is any type of a quality fighter. And B.J. Flores suffered, struggled, couldn't even get him knocked out of there. And then in his last fight, he fights a 40-year-old former, and I'm going to give him credit because he predominantly campaigned in the junior welterweight and welterweight divisions. Although, let's be real, he started his career at featherweight in Hugo Pinata. And B.J. Flores is trying to convince me and you as a boxing fan that he's a legitimate contender. B.J. Flores is a fraud. And this is what's bad about the sport of boxing. It's a joke. It's a joke. And B.J. Flores, you're a joke. I am so pissed off when I read that this morning. I can't even tell you. Can't even tell you. Obviously, you can tell. But anyway, phew, I guess a couple of extra cups of coffee and some cold medicine really got me going today. Huh? We got some emails. Yeah, I got some emails I want to read. And I got one from my man Given. I got a few from my man Given Quality. And we actually agreed on some stuff this week, from yesterday's show. He says, and there's several things I want to give him his time. He says, you think it was suspect that Chavez Jr. Left the arena without giving his urine sample, especially after the delayed reports about the DUI case. he did test positive, which incidentally, that's been shoveled under the carpet. The DUI case, they kept that pretty quiet. He says he did test positive for a banned substance, which helped him lose weight. And he says, what do I think of that? I said yesterday I thought that was just totally ridiculous. And what's even more ridiculous is the response that Jose Sulaiman gave. He also wanted to say that Madonna, he was referring to the Super Bowl, that Madonna was a little better than he thought she would be. I agree, man. I mean, I'm not a Madonna fan, but I thought she did a little better. I mean, she's older than me, so she did better. He also thinks that Donaire will beat Gamboa, unlike what I think. I think Gamboa would beat him. But he says that Gamboa gets wild out there sometimes, and he would rather see Gary Russell Jr. fight Nonito Donaire. Gary Russell Jr. is definitely coming on, and that would make a good fight. But I disagree with my man, given quality, because of with Gamboa. I think what makes Gamboa dangerous is his wildness at times. He backs it up with some punching power, a lot of punching power, and of course his hand speed, which is tough to catch up with when as an opponent when you're fighting him. He also thinks that Amir Khan should fight Victor Ortiz if he wants a big fight. I like that fight too, man. I like that. That's what I was telling him. I think that we agreed a little too much on yesterday's show. He also thinks that another good fight for Amir Khan would be for what's his name, Guerrero, Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Which again, I agree with him. I think that is a good fight. He said for me to forget about getting a hypnotist. He says, and this is all about the Floyd stuff. He doesn't think I do my homework on Floyd Mayweather. He's been asking me to mention my thoughts about why, to tell you why I thought Sugar Ray Leonard would have beaten Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he had struggled with Floyd Mayweather Sr., and Floyd Mayweather Sr. was nowhere as close to Jr.'s ability. I just think that, in using his own terms, Sugar Ray Leonard was in his day a sleek black fighter, and I think that Sugar Ray Leonard had too many brains in his head when he was fighting to fall prey to a guy like Floyd. I really don't, and I'm not saying probably overall skill. I don't know. I think Leonard would have beaten Floyd, but that would have been a really good matchup. And by the way, when he fought Papa Floyd, that was in the beginning of Sugar Ray Leonard's career, in a sense. And if you go and watch what he's done since then, what he had done since then, he had gotten much better. So I'm talking about when you have these dream matchups, you got to put the best, when they were at their best against when the opponent was at their best. So hey, I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I got some more emails to read, and then we're going to have Scotty Krause come out.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face. I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C. dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. radio show. Check out the website, www.billycboxing.com. I'm going to have the updated rankings up there. No, I don't agree with them. I'm going to have them up there probably later today. Yeah, it's for real. You know, we have the rankings. We go by our panel. I don't agree with them. There's a lot of them in there I don't agree with. But whatever. You know. Yeah, I'm calm now. I'm calm. You know, BJ Flores. Every time somebody mentions his name, I get all roused up, man. This guy is just a fraud. It's just a fraud. What a joke. You know, and the thing about a guy like him is it wouldn't even be that bad if he didn't say the stuff he does. You know, that's the thing. You know, if you're going to talk smack, man, you got to back it up. You know, yeah, he's been very busy. You know, he didn't say that he fought all bums and guys 40 and older. He didn't say that. But he has been busy, so I guess he didn't lie about that. Given Quality says, you know, both Donaire and Chavez Jr. underperformed. They showed that they still have flaws in their arsenal. Neither is ready for prime time yet. It's funny to hear Chavez call out Martinez after he and Arum ducked him, begging by the begging of WC not to make the fight mandatory. You know, I agree with you about Donaire. I thought Donaire, and maybe it's because he moved up, you know, maybe he just doesn't pack the punch anymore, even though it's only a couple of pounds difference than where he was dominating. And I do agree, and I think I've read some other stuff. People kind of think his performance wasn't that great, and I don't think it was that great. But I disagree about Chavez. You know, Marco Antonio Rubio is, I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. And you know, you got to remember something. Not that I agree with it, but you know, Chavez is still developing, even though he's got the title. But this whole title thing with him and Sergio Martinez is ridiculous. You know, Sergio Martinez is the super champion or diamond-studded champion or whatever. And what the WBC did to him in favor of Chavez Jr. is just a travesty. He also wanted to clarify his feeling, because when he said to me, and I talked about it yesterday, about Paul Williams. You see, when Paul Williams was, you know, when people regarded Paul Williams as a pound-for-pound top fighter, which he was a couple of years ago, a lot of people wanted him to fight Floyd Mayweather, and Mayweather avoided him, you know. Now, as far as now goes, no, he's not in... he's not even worth the breath. I mean, Williams has a lot to prove. You know, he Given Quality says he wasn't even a top 5 ranked fighter. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was a top 5 ranked fighter. So I don't know about that. But anyway, he also had a funny comment. I thought it was funny. He says, by the way, why isn't Pac fighting in the outdoor arena that Bob Arum supposedly is having constructed on June 9th? I think that is kind of comical, because that outdoor arena was so important to Bob Arum. I think they were only talking about that arena specifically for Mayweather, because I don't even know if they announced where the fight's going to be yet for Pacquiao Bradley. But as usual, appreciate everything from my man, Given Quality. Even though we rarely agree. Although I think we agreed on a few things yesterday. Ali Ritter says Bradley versus Pacquiao is more of an interesting fight than Mayweather-Cotto. I don't know about that. I think they're both pretty interesting fights, and I think that both of them are more than interesting. Timothy Bradley has the potential to beat Pacquiao, and I think that Miguel Cotto has the potential to beat Mayweather. Now, whether either one of them come out on top or not, that's a whole other story. But I think they're both interesting fights. It's not the fights we wanted, but it's not the fight we wanted. But I think they're both legit fights. I think they're both going to do well. I think Timothy Bradley gets a bad rap. He also wants me to, given quality, says, hey, listen, if Timothy Bradley doesn't come forward and throw lots of punches like he normally does, and he pulls what given quality says is a Joshua Clottey. Because given quality believes that Joshua Clottey was told by the devil himself, Bob Arum, not to hurt Manny Pacquiao, which I find pretty ridiculous. But he says if Bradley all of a sudden is fighting like Clottey did against Manny Pacquiao, then what do I think? If that's the case, then I would agree with giving quality 100%. So let's see. If Timothy Bradley fights, without throwing punches, without leading with his head, without doing all the things that we watch him do against Pacquiao, then I'm going to wonder about that as well. Lou DiBella says that providing they get by Matthew Macklin on March 17th in New York City, that Chavez Jr. and Sergio Martinez has to fight. They have to fight. He said, this is ridiculous. We want to be recognized as the only title. Another thing about, I think Given Quality mentioned it, and it may be in one of these emails that I can't even see right now. But I do agree with something he said about Martinez, because I keep saying that the fights that I would like to see with Mayweather really, although I like the Cotto fight, I really think that there's only two major fights that I would have liked to have seen Mayweather and that was against Martinez or Pacquiao, of course. And I agree with Given Quality. I can't believe it. It's hard to get those words out that I agree with him. But the thing is that I said this a long time ago, that Sergio Martinez, as a middleweight, could clean up the division. He could fight all of those guys, like Sturm and all of the middleweight champs, and become the controlling middleweight. But because Lou DiBella is not willing to pay for all of that, he's waiting around. He's picking these fights. He thinks that he's going to get a shot at Mayweather or even Pacquiao. And for that respect, I think that Lou is making a mistake. Now, when you put your business hat on, it goes back to the old saying, risk versus reward. Why should a guy fight, 3 or 4 fights to make the same amount of money he can make in one fight, win, lose, or draw? Which makes sense. I mean, you can't disagree with that. But from the boxing purist point, and for the good of the sport, yeah, it would be nice to have one major champion in the middleweight division, and Sergio Martinez certainly could be that guy, So we'll have to see what's going on. But anyway, so that's what's happening there. Oh, that Flores, that BJ Flores, what a fraud he is. God, I've been so busy. I've worked hard for this. No, he hasn't. He doesn't even deserve to be called a boxer, in my opinion. He's a studio guy. Well, it looks like it was made official, or not quite, because Bradley has to sign the papers. But the bottom line is June 9th, Manny Pacquiao against Timothy Bradley. Doesn't come as a shock. So now you got the two guys in Pacquiao and Mayweather. Both of them choosing not to fight each other. Just another blemish, right? Just another blemish for the sport. So instead they both take fights. Now here's the thing: I think they both took good fights. Now, what do we think about the June 9th fight against Bradley? I think it's interesting. I think it's more realistic for Pacquiao to fight a 140-pound guy, even though he's coming up to 147 to fight Manny. But anyway, we got Scotty Krause going to be joining us a little bit. and we'll get his take on this stuff. And I wonder what he thinks of B.J. Flores. I wonder if he thinks the same way I do. And I apologize for losing my cool there. But every time I think of B.J., I think of that stupid T-shirt he wears. You know, anyone, anywhere, anytime. Yeah, right. As long as he's a puffed up welterweight, he's over 40, he's a coffee-smelling, donut-eating ex-cop, you know, all these things. As long as he's not a real fighter. I mean, because you got to go back. You know, he's only had, in his career, in my opinion, he's had 2 major fights. One was against Danny Green. He lost. And the other one was against Darnell, the Dingling Man Wilson. We all saw that fight on ESPN and watched the Dingling Man get robbed. He lost that one, but he got the W. So, yeah, B.J. Flores is nothing but a fraud. Nothing but a fraud.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretcher, that man, I
would think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's
wrong,
the problem?
Billy, see?
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you.
speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. The guys in the chat room think I should be having a heart attack right now, falling off the chair in between that. But you're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. I want to welcome the Fight Now audience just joining us like they do Monday through Friday. And thank God you guys missed me lose my mind. And speaking of lose my mind, joining us right now, he's making me lose my mind. He's making me get my blood pressure up. Scotty Krause joins us. What's up, my man?
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Oh, you think it's good? You think it's a good morning?
Well,
I had the worst Super Bowl in my life.
I meant to tell you that you made a mistake in the rankings I sent you last night. We need to update them. The pound-for-pound category especially. Floyd Mayweather is still number one, but B.J. Flores is number 2.
Yeah.
So we meant to do that, and just, we made a mistake, so you can go ahead and make that correction.
Hey, listen. My point about the rankings is you can't take a guy for one fight that didn't even go to full length and whatever. You know my feelings. We're going to be kicking off a new segment, and I'm going to be relying on you to carry this one here. Greg Haugen against Vinny Pazienza. It's hits of the 80s. First of all, tell us about the whole premise of the hits from the 80s.
Well, you talk to a lot of boxing fans who are kind of our age and watched boxing through the 80s. Many of them will tell you that was one of their favorite decades, one of their favorite time periods. It just seemed like during the 80s you had a lot of colorful fighters. You had fights on TV, regular TV, and the regular TV isn't HBO and Showtime to you younger people out there. It was NBC, CBS, ABC. You'd have Wide World of Sports. You'd watch the guy, come down the ski ramp and totally, wipe out, and then you'd go and you'd have all kinds of different. You'd have some car race. You'd have this or that. Then you'd have a boxing match. It was like every Saturday. It was on TV, and it was just it was great. You'd have title defenses on a weeknight, a Monday night, or a Thursday night. Sugar Ray Leonard, Larry Holmes, these guys, they fought on regular TV, and it was just maybe there were decades prior to the 80s that people older than me, maybe like you, would look back and remember more fondly. But to me, the 80s were just a special time as a boxing fan because there were so many fights. And there were so many good, quality fighters, it seemed, and I don't want to, wax nostalgic and be one of those guys, hey, back in the good old days. But it does seem like there were so many, a variety of fighters, and they got a lot of TV time, and it was an enjoyable time, and it was just the last time that they appeared on regular TV, were accessible to just about everybody because all you needed was a TV really to watch them. Whereas now, you need a cable subscription and HBO, and you got to pay for pay-per-view and so many other things. Even as ESPN too, you still have to have good cable or satellite or something like that. So I look back fondly on the 80s. I've talked to a lot of boxing fans who do the same. So I thought it'd be fun just to highlight some of those hits of the 80s. Now, I look 80s music is my favorite too. So, a lot of those 80s that are now on like classic stations, which really makes you feel old. A lot of fights from the 80s to me are very memorable, and just thought we could look back on them.
I would have never thought the B-52s would have been considered oldies, from the 80s, right? But, I also, I've said this 100 times. I know you and I have talked about it. And if you would have asked me back in the 80s, when we were watching the likes of Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, et cetera, if this was the last great era of boxing, I wouldn't even thought twice. I wouldn't even thought that it would be considered a great era. I thought it was just the norm. Yeah,
at the time it seemed that way. But there were a lot of changes, and mostly in how you watched boxing. And I think that made a difference. And I'm not necessarily saying the fighters were better in the 80s. You just had more access to them. I think, the titles were still many. You still had a couple weight classes that were introduced. Right before the 80s, you had the cruiserweight and then certainly the super middleweight division and so forth. But it just seemed like it was still developing in a way, becoming the product that it is today, which I still love, but to me isn't the greatest product. I think it was better in the 80s, just as an overall product. And again, I don't necessarily mean the quality of fighter. I think we got good fighters today. I just think how they're moved, how they're marketed, how people get to view them. The fact that they're either in mismatches or they're stepped up too quickly. It just seems like the overall quality of the sport was a little better in the 80s, and it wasn't perfect then. I mean, believe me, there was issues then, but I think the accessibility of just the everyday boxing fan made it better.
No, I agree, and I disagree. I think that the fighters were better because they fought each other, and because the rise to the top, so to speak, meant that you did have to fight quality opposition, which we've seen way too often, especially with the fraud himself, P.J. Flores, that they don't fight quality opposition, and nowadays you get credit just for stepping in the ring. We lost Scott, so we'll have to get him back. Today's going to be one of those days, I can tell. But, that's the thing. When we have the fighters today, and that's something that I wanted to ask Scott here as soon as I can. I will ask Scott, but we're going to have to get him back here because some issues. So we'll have to talk a little more about the 80s. And as far as the 80s are concerned, in my opinion, it was the last great era of fights, boxing. And like Scotty said, they did fight tougher opposition. There was tougher opposition on the way up. Just guys like, we talked about 2011 Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame inductee Marlon Starling is a great example. This is a guy that people virtually have forgotten about. And, when you start to think about how good he was and who he fought and, talk about defensive fighter, talk about being solid defensively. Marlon was one of the best, and by today's standards, people don't even consider it. They don't even think of him, and it's a shame. And there was so many other guys like that, that they all fought each other. They all definitely got more market, and that's a good point that Scott made about the marketability of these guys because they were on regular TV, and he's right. They were on television often, and I forget. I believe the Mike Tyson fight. I think one of the Mike Tyson World Championship fights was actually on a Monday night. So I mean, what a difference it is today. Now I do believe that a lot of the problems that we have with the sport today stem from the lack of television coverage, but the other issue is the ones we do see on television. They are looking for the wrong type of fighter. Back in the 80s, we wanted exciting fighters. And those exciting fighters got the chance to show their stuff on TV. Nowadays, if you have an unblemished record, if you have an O, you'll get on TV. They don't look at who you fought. They think that just because you're undefeated means you're a good fighter. And I'm talking about they, meaning the networks, the suits, the guys that make the decision, the bean counters. Maybe not the bean counters, but So, I mean, that's one of the problems that we have today. That these guys are being moved along, and they're being moved along in the wrong way. And should we give a fighter credit for having an undefeated record by not even looking? I mean, some of these networks don't even look at the opponents. You talk about a fraud like B.J. Flores, the fraud. Who's he fought? How could he be ranked at the top? Who's he fought? So a guy like that. I mean, I've been busy. I've worked hard. He says, you've been busy fighting guys over 40. I mean, it's just a different animal. It's just a totally different animal than what we used to have. It's a shame. It really is. It's a shame. So anyway, we'll try and get. Well, now we're ready to try and get Scotty back, and we got him back now. Sorry about that. We're having problems with the phone system, Scott.
Go figure, Bill. Hey, one word for you, Bill. Decaf.
It's more than that today, but anyway, let's finish the your thoughts on the 80s stuff. We got Greg Haugen going up against.
Well, again, here the thing about it to me that stands out is the accessibility. The fact that so many people could watch the fights. I mean, all my friends were boxing fans. I mean, none of my kids are, because boxing as like, okay, it's an event on Saturday night. It's not something that was just part of the sports menu, sports diet on a regular basis. And you know, my friends at school, people in the neighborhood, they all watched the fights. They all knew who the fighters were. They could tell you, you know, the light heavyweights and the featherweights and the, you know, the welterweights and so forth. The same way that they could run off, you know, the top baseball players and football players today. And it was a different time because of that, because of so many people able to watch these guys, and I miss it. And two of the guys that were regulars that you would see if you were sitting down on a Saturday afternoon to watch your sports was Vinny Pazienza and Greg Haugen. Both of these guys, very marketable, frequently on TV because they were fan friendly. And this fight between them at 1987, June 7th, 1987, in Providence, Rhode Island, was just like a mini classic. Not a greatest of all time kind of thing, but just sort of a mini classic. Again, you know, you got a 15-round fight, which makes it a classic in and of itself. But just one of those fights that, you know, when I talk to people who remember a lot of these good fights, they'd say, hey, how about Pazienza Haugen? You remember that fight? Remember that rivalry? And it was a good one, Bill. When they fought, Paz and Haugen were both young guys. They were both very young in their careers. Paz was only 24. Haugen was 26. Paz's record was 22-1 with 18 knockouts, and Haugen was 19-0 with 9 knockouts. You know, Paz would go on to have 60 fights in his career, and Haugen would have 53. So you can see this is the very early days of these guys' career, but probably, in a lot of people's eyes, the better days. I mean, they were young, they were fresh, they were both lightweights. I mean, Paz would go on to fight fights at light heavyweight. Haugen would fight at junior middleweight at some point, but here they are at lightweight and fast and very active in the ring. You know, Haugen was the IBF lightweight champion of the world. IBF was a fairly, it seems kind of funny, it was a fairly new organization at the time. And I'm not sure if the other sanctioning bodies, you might remember the Mancini-Kim fight kind of was the fight that led to the 12-round championship distance. And I'm not sure if the other sanctioning bodies at this point had 12 rounds. I know the IBF was the last organization to have a 15-round fight, and I think at this time they were the only ones that did. I think WBC and WBA at this time, 1987, both had 12-round fights. So they were kind of hanging on to the the old championship distance of 15 rounds, and these guys made the most of every minute of every round, and certainly helped make this a classic. Greg Haugen had appeared on TV. He had appeared on ESPN, had Top Rank Boxing at the time, and it was fairly early for it. And Haugen had appeared on TV on several occasions. He'd beaten guys like Jeff Bumpus. He'd beaten Freddie Roach. You know, there's a name. Chris Calvin, if you remember him, the Southern Rebel, Charlie White Lightning Brown, and Edwin Corrette. He had won the title from Kronk's Jimmy Paul. And Jimmy Paul was a pretty good fighter. He was 26-1 with 19 knockouts, hard puncher. Again, so he was out of the Kronk stable. The Kronk fighters just very dominant during this time, during the 80s. Emmanuel Stewart, a big trainer at the time. And they picked Haugen because they had no idea who he was. They wanted an easy defense, and they were looking at the possibilities, and they said, hey, this guy, we don't have a mandatory due right now. Let's pick a guy that's not going to be that much of a problem. And they picked Greg Haugen, not realizing how scrappy, how tough this guy was, and really underrated him and underestimated him, and he took the title from Jimmy Paul in a 15-round decision. Vinny Pazienza would be Haugen's first title defense, and Paz was probably the bigger draw in this fight because he had appeared on TV many times too, but he was kind of the showcase fighter. He was flashy. He was more TV friendly. He was with Lou Duva, who was one of the most popular trainers of the 1980s. I mean, you watched fights in the 80s, half of them you saw Lou Duva in the corner. He hadn't beaten maybe the quality of fighter of Haugen. I mean, Haugen had beaten a world champion in Jimmy Paul. But Pazienza had beaten some okay. He'd beaten really relatives of good fighters. You had Melvin Paul, who was Jimmy Paul's brother, Jeff Bumpus, the brother of Johnny Bumpus, junior welterweight titleist, Joe Frazier Jr., obviously the son of Joe Frazier. So he'd beaten a lot of good relatives of fighters, but he hadn't beaten a real quality fighter. Greg Haugen would be the first and his biggest test at this point. And these two guys, Bill, couldn't be more opposite in their styles. I mean, Paz was flashy. He was unorthodox. He would clown around. He was herky-jerky in his movements in the ring. He would use a lot of the ring. A lot of wasted movement, you would say, a wasted energy, but he had so much energy. I mean, his nickname, the Tasmanian Devil, was appropriate because he reminded of that cartoon figure that just spinning around and moving quickly all over the place. That's the way Paz was in the ring. He had speed. He wasn't that powerful. Even though he had a high percentage of knockouts at this point, they were more from attrition. He'd wear you down because he had so much energy. He threw so many punches. It's kind of like different from Juan Baby Bull Diaz, because Diaz didn't have the speed and wasn't as unorthodox as Paz, but it was kind of like that. His knockouts come from just the pressure. It just hits you so many times. You kind of fold when you're fighting him. He was relentless in the ring, hyperactive, never stopped moving and never stopped coming forward. Greg Haugen was just the opposite, very steady, more upright, more traditional. He would work with his hands up, whereas Paz would have his hands down. Haugen would move in behind a pretty solid jab, an underrated jab, in my opinion. And one of his best assets, I think, was his jab and the way he utilized it. At Pazienza, he didn't throw a jab. If he did, it was from a weird position. And whereas Paz would move all around, Haugen was pretty stationary, didn't waste any movement. He'd bounce on his toes a little bit, but he wouldn't move around.
Guess what? We lost Scott. Imagine that, Scott. We lost you. I'm going to try and get Scotty back here. And that was an abrupt stop, huh? You get to hear that. But let's see if we can get him. See if we can get him back this time easily without going through a nightmare. You back?
Yep.
Sorry. Go ahead. You were on a roll there.
Well, I'm not sure where I got caught, but just describing Greg Haugen.
You were just saying you were just saying about how he's stable. The guy comes at you. He's methodical. He used the jab occasionally. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, Haugen had a very good jab as opposed to Pazienza, whose jab was just kind of strange. I don't think he used it in a traditional sense. Everything about Paz was unorthodox and untraditional. Haugen was the opposite, very, very straightforward in how he fought. He did everything well, nothing great. But what they had in common was that both of these guys were tough as nails. You don't find fighters any tougher than Pazienza and Greg Haugen, and they both had tremendous stamina. Both could go. I mean, after 15 rounds, these guys look like, you want to go 20, they'll go 20. You want to go 25, they'll go 25. We're looking back to the 80s, but as 80s fighters, these guys were what you'd call throwbacks to the old days. They just go out there and just grind and fight, and they could go on and on and on and on until the other fighter would quit. And then these two guys together, that'd be a long time because neither one of these guys had any quit in them. I mean, case in point, prior to this fight, the morning of this fight, Vinny Pazienza was sick. He was vomiting, he had diarrhea, he had a fever, he had sweats. I mean, he was in bad shape, and most fighters would probably call off the fight today. Not Paz. I mean, Paz would go out there, chop his arm off. He'd still go out there and say, put the glove on my other hand, I'm okay. That's the kind of guy he was. And he came into the ring sick, but he was so hyped, and there was so much energy that I think that was able to overcome his sickness. He was at his home crowd, Providence, Rhode Island. So just a tremendous atmosphere and TV fight. And what I remember most from this, Bill, was just the beginning of the fight, the opening of this fight. Pazienza comes out first. It's dark, and the spotlights start waving everywhere. And he had that, I forget what music it was, but it was a common theme.
Wasn't it "Eye of a Tiger"?
It was the Rocky theme, I think. But prior to the Rocky theme, it was it 2001: Space Odyssey or something like that? It was I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. It's such common music. If you heard it, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" You heard this 1,000 times then. But I can't remember what it was called. And the crowd was just nuts. And that's another thing about the '80s. You'd fight in a guy's hometown and then build this fighter, and it would be, the atmosphere would be incredible. I remember Tony the Tiger Lopez, fighting in Sacramento, or Marvin Johnson fighting in Indianapolis, or it just. The scene was just tremendous, and Providence, Rhode Island were definitely were out there to support Vinny Pazienza. He came in the ring. Haugen came into AC/DC, and it was just intense. And they get into the ring. These guys talked a lot of trash. They hated each other, and they get in the ring, and they immediately are nose to nose and having to be separated and jawing at each other. And it was just such an intense environment and atmosphere while you're watching it. And the pre-fight instructions, I mean, they're literally, their faces are smashed against each other. I mean, they're practically making out. I mean, they're so close. And I never forget Lou Duva just screaming, calling Greg Haugen a queer over and over again. And it just, you get Lou Duva, you get Vinny Pazienza, and these guys are very charismatic, very TV friendly again, and Haugen would respond in kind. It was just had that atmosphere of violence that these two guys are just going to go at it. And they did. Haugen was much more composed, though. Haugen was the boxer. I mean, Haugen was the kind of guy, you could talk all the trash you want, and he'd respond, but he'd do it with a little smile. He'd always have that smile when he would talk trash, because he doesn't care. I mean, Haugen knew he was tough. He didn't have to prove anything. And a guy like Pazienza that's really serious and in his face and having to look tough. And I think burned a lot of energy, wasted a lot of energy doing that. Haugen didn't. Haugen would go out there with the bell would ring, emotion was put aside. He was able to be more of a professional and box and pay attention to technique and fundamentals and fight plan and that kind of thing. Vinny Pazienza just rushed across the ring and just wanted to tear into this guy, and that's the way it pretty much was the whole fight. I mean, it was a very, very close fight, very action-packed fight. Again, because these guys didn't have a lot of power, you didn't have knockdowns, and you didn't have either guy wobbled or hurt, although Haugen did break Pazienza's nose in round 2, and by the end of the fight, his eye was closed as well. I mean, he looked like he'd been in a fight. Haugen looked pretty fresh, but it was a close fight. Pazienza got the decision. A lot of people thought it was a hometown decision. I kind of thought Haugen should have won the fight. A lot of people thought Haugen deserved the decision. But it was a close fight. Pazienza won the IBF title from Haugen at this point. They would fight 2 other times. Haugen would regain the title in a rematch, another 15-round decision, and then they'd fight a 3rd time at junior welterweight that Pazienza would win by 10-round decision. But both of these guys would go on to have some good fights, some big nights. They would win some more titles, especially Paz. But to me, when I think of these guys, I think of this night. I think of this fight. These 2 young guys, these 2 young lightweight tigers coming together and giving everyone just such a fantastic fight, a great atmosphere, and a great rivalry.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's funny when I had both of them on the show, and they were like back to back, and it seemed like they would both fight each other tomorrow. If I said, "Hey, you guys want to suit up and fight?" Because Greg Haugen still complains about the Providence, Rhode Island decision on that. He felt he got robbed big time, and Vinny just, he's like, "I'll fight him again," and I think they still don't like each other.
No, and it's funny because later on in their careers, apparently they became friends for a while, kind of like a Gotti and Ward. They fought each other several times, and they kind of grew close. And at one point, I had read that they were friends, but then at another point, the friendship ended. And like you said, to this day, I think there's animosity. I don't think these 2 guys like each other. I'm sure they respect each other, but I don't think they like each other very much. And it was just these 2 guys, when they got into the ring, I mean, if you can, unfortunately, go on YouTube, they don't have all the pre-fight stuff on there, and you got to find a copy of it somewhere, and I know I have it somewhere, but it just the build-up was so intense. And then you had Greg Haugen's family being shown back in I think back in Washington State, where he was from. They were in looked like they were in some bar, and they were all gathered together watching on TV, and they'd switch to that and show them, and at the end, when the decision was announced, you see his family. I can't remember if the sister or his mom flipping off the camera and just going crazy. I mean, it was just, the whole thing was just an event, and there's just so many snippets and moments from it that I remember. But the pre-fight build-up, and in the ring, these two guys just smoldering, just building, the crowd being so intense. It was special, and these guys put on a heck of a fight. And again, after 15 rounds, I think they would have gone another 15 if the referee said, "Hey, you guys want to go again?" I think they both would have said, "Let's do it."
I say Bam Bam Rios reminds me of Jake LaMotta, but Vinny Pazienza has to remind you of Jake a little bit, right? Oh, we lost him. Oh, we lost Scott. Oh, imagine that. Oh, see, Scott, we lost you. See if we can get him back real quick. I know that we're about due for a break here, but we are due for a break. But anyway, I just said, I don't know if you heard me, but...
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, Pazienza, I agree. I think he does. Don't know that he has the pop that LaMotta had, but Pazienza's heart, I don't know that... I mean, if you could measure heart, I'm not sure that there's anybody that put on a pair of gloves that had as much heart as Pazienza. I mean, everyone knows the story about the broken neck and how he came back from that. I mean, this guy just, you could not stop. And one of his worst beatings was against Roy Jones. He took a fierce beating in that fight. But I think he would have got up 20 times and kept coming. That's what I mean. He reminds me of these fighters from the old days that, you and I talk about a lot of times, where, you get knocked down 15 times in a fight, and you keep coming back and knock the other guy down I don't know how many times. I mean, that's Pazienza. I mean, there's no quit in this guy at all.
Yeah, and then not only that, he gets knocked down, he gets up, he's bleeding so much that he'd make a vampire blush, and then he gets mad at the referee for stopping. What are you stopping him for? I have him right where I want him, and he's like, 150 stitches later, but yeah, great choice, man. Vinny Pazienza beating Greg Haugen on June 7th, 1987. Vinny Pazienza would go on to win a title. He's a former world lightweight, junior welterweight, junior middleweight, and super middleweight world champ. 50 wins, 30 by knockout, 10 losses, stopped 3 times, 460 rounds as a pro, 50% KO ratio. Greg Haugen, former lightweight, junior welterweight. I'll even throw in the fact that he won the WBF world welterweight title at 1.2, 40 wins, 10 losses, 19 knockouts. He was stopped 3 times as well. Hey, quick question for you. I got a couple of things I wanted to ask you. I'm not going to take a break right now. Since we hung up on you so many times. What do you think of Yuriorkis Gamboa working with Manny Stewart? You think it's going to help or hurt him?
That's hard to say. The fact that Gamboa's had several trainers, I'm not sure how good that is for him. I'm not sure if he's gaining a little bit from each guy. It's hard to say whether that's going to help him or not. It all depends. I mean, Emmanuel Stewart is a great trainer, but as we've seen, he's not for everybody. I think Emmanuel Stewart did some good things with Miguel Cotto, the couple fights he had him. I think when Miguel Cotto fought Yuri Foreman, you could see some differences. You could see a Stewart stamp on Cotto in the ring that night. I think he helped him a little bit, tweak some things. Maybe he can tweak some things for Gamboa as well. If he can make him better, then my goodness, Gamboa is already pretty special. If he can make him better, especially if he can work more on defense. Keeping Gamboa as offensively explosive as he is, but at the same time working on the defense. If he can manage that, then I think then he's accomplished a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake. Because I agree with you. If Gamboa, I don't think Gamboa listens, or when he tries, he immediately reverts back to what he knows. And his style of fighting, I just think they should leave him alone. It ain't broke. Don't try to fix it. They're going to have the language barrier right off the top. Manny's going to try and get him to stand up straight, use a jab, and I don't know. Well,
it all depends again on the reason that he got Manny Stewart. If he got Manny Stewart because he already thinks he knows everything. He just wants a high-profile trainer. Then it's not going to work. I mean, you got to get a guy that you can actually work with that's going to help you. If it's just for symbolic purposes, if Manny's a figurehead and Gamboa doesn't really listen to him, then I don't see the point of it. And if Manny goes into it, and look, what am I going to tell Manny Stewart about training fighters? But if Stewart goes into it realizing, I can't change the guy. I need to take who he is and maybe just tweak some things, maybe work on a few nuances, then I think it can. But if he doesn't, and even a great trainer like Manny Stewart, can make mistakes and go in thinking, hey, I can turn this guy around into this guy or that guy. And if he does, then I think he'll end up a failure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I looked at Gamboa. I love Gamboa, and after watching Nonito Donaire, I think Gamboa beats Donaire and beats him at the way he fights, though. Not, I don't know, man. You can't teach a dog. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, all of those points you could make. I just don't know if it's going to be good. But like you said, I'm not going to question Manny Stewart's ability. That's for sure. Another question I got. There's a kind of a disagreement I'm having with one of our listeners. I think Sugar Ray Leonard, and I know, I'm asking a guy that's pretty biased towards Sugar Ray Leonard, but I believe Sugar Ray Leonard would have beaten Floyd Mayweather Jr. What do you think?
Well, as far as being biased towards Sugar Ray Leonard, look, I mean, the Marvin Hagler fight was the last fight I rooted for Sugar Ray Leonard in. I mean, the rest of his career I rooted against him. So, I mean, I'm not sure how biased I am. It's kind of a
Come on, you got Sugar Ray Leonard underwear. You got posters of the guy in your room. Come on, man. You called me. Do I have to remind you what a schoolgirl you acted like when you got the interview with him and all of that? Come on, man.
Well, that was pretty exciting, but I felt the same way with Aaron Pryor. I mean, I am a schoolgirl when it comes to some of these guys. I can't help it, but obviously, yeah, I like Leonard. And I would like Hearns as well over Mayweather. To me, Mayweather has yet to prove he's an all-time great. His career's not over. Maybe by the end of his career, we'll be talking differently. Maybe when his career ends, you and I are still kicking and still doing the show together. We'll do a legend versus legend and have Leonard or Hearns versus Mayweather, and maybe our opinions will change by that time. It's up to Mayweather to change them. See, to me, Mayweather needs to do something special. I mean, he's beaten a lot of fantastic fighters, and he's had a really fantastic career, there's no doubt about it. And I'm not taking anything away from him. And I like the Cotto fight. I think I give Mayweather a lot of credit for the Cotto fight because he's not making Cotto fight at a catchweight. He's fighting Cotto at 154 pounds. And to me, that's a dangerous fight. I think Mayweather wins, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a dangerous fight. And I think he's taking a risk. And that's what that's what I want to see from Mayweather. That's what I've always wanted to see from Mayweather. I want to see him take a risk. Challenge yourself. Don't fight Carlos Baldemir. Don't fight Zab Judah after he just lost, a fight to Carlos Baldemir. Don't take this guy and like Marquez, who's 2 weight classes, lighter than you, and then you come in 2 pounds heavier and have every advantage imaginable. Don't do that. Take a risk. And to me, a risk would be fighting a guy like Sergio Martinez, a fight that sounds almost crazy, kind of like what we thought when Pacquiao fought De La Hoya, what we thought when Sugar Ray Leonard came out of retirement to fight Marvin Hagler, who's the baddest man in the world at that time and who had never fought at middleweight before. And here he's coming out of a lengthy retirement, really 5 years, if you throw out the Kevin Howard fight in which he looked horrible. Believe me, you look at that fight and you think, Hagler, he couldn't beat, Robbie Sims, Hagler's brother, and yet he comes out and he accomplishes the impossible. Even in a close fight, even in a disputed decision, whatever, what he did, he defied everyone. He took a huge risk. That's what I want to see Mayweather do, and I don't think he's done that yet. I think fighting Cotto at 154 is getting there. It's a small one. It's getting there. It's kind of what I want to see, and I'm glad he's doing it. But to me, after Cotto, if there's no Pacquiao fight, and at this point I really could care less, if there was, then I think he needs to fight Martinez. Fight him at middleweight. Don't make him come down to 150. Fight him at middleweight. Take that risk. You beat him, and to me, then you've proven you've done the impossible. You've proven everyone wrong. You are without a doubt an all-time great, because to me that's what defines all-time greatness. You know, you don't do what's expected of you. You do beyond that, and that's what Sugar Ray Leonard did. That's what Thomas Hearns did at the time. Remember, he was the first guy to win titles in 4 weight classes. Nowadays, that's not that hard. Then you had a lot of great fighters that couldn't do it. Chavez failed. Arguello failed. You know, Duran failed initially. I mean, a lot of great fighters tried and failed. That was sort of this mark that a lot of fighters aspired to and just couldn't quite get. And Hearns was the first guy to do it, and he went on to win, you know, a 5th as well. So these guys took risks. These guys met challenges and overcame them and beat them. Even if Hearns did lose the 2 biggest fights, he still took the fights, and he fought everybody that was available to him at the time. And I think both of them at this point beat Mayweather. I think Sugar Ray Leonard had some special qualities. Talent aside, Sugar Ray Leonard, like you said earlier in the show, was smart, very, very smart, but he was also unbelievably tough and stubborn and cocky. And cocky in the sense that it made him a better fighter. So I think it'd be a fantastic fight, but I gotta favor Leonard at this point, as I would Hearns.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And you know, the whole thing. I also agree about Floyd fighting Cotto. I think it's a great fight, and it's an impressive fight for me. You know, like you, I think that the only two the only 2 fights for Floyd were either Pacquiao or Martinez. I'm happy that Floyd's fighting Cotto. You know, I'm sure he'll come out on top. Then again, you never know. But the bottom line is I like the fight. I have to respect him for it. It is one of the biggest risks he's taken of late. And we'll have to wait and see. Now, on the other side of the coin, we got the Manny Pacquiao fighting June 9th against Timothy Bradley. And again, this is a fight I like. I think they're each picking opponents that's more realistic for themselves. Like Manny Pacquiao's not as big, you know, and I think fighting Timothy Bradley is a smart move, and I think Floyd fighting Cotto is a smart move.
I absolutely agree. I mean, if these 2 guys aren't going to fight each other, and it doesn't look like they are, then at least make the next biggest or the next biggest fight that you can. And I think they're doing that. Obviously, Sergio Martinez is a guy that we'd like to see both of them against. To me, especially Floyd, because I think weight-wise, Floyd can handle it. And I think stylistically, Floyd has a more realistic shot of moving up and beating Martinez than Pacquiao, because I think Pacquiao's just gone up as far as he can at this point. But take Martinez out of there and take a fight between the 2 of them out. And to me, they're fighting probably the next best opponents out there. I mean, if Mayweather was fighting Robert the Ghost Guerrero and Pacquiao was fighting, you know, a 4th fight with Eric Morales, then I think we'd have right to complain and be bitter. But I think they're fighting. They're both taking, I think, serious challenges, and I like Cotto and Bradley to give them both tough fights. Now, I still like Mayweather and Pacquiao to come out the winner. I think if I have to pick which one would be the toughest, I think Cotto's going to give Mayweather a little tougher time than Bradley should, because Bradley's coming up from 140 pounds, and I think that's going to help. I think, you know, Pacquiao is going to have, I think, the strength and the speed advantage, where usually, at least since he's moved up from junior lightweight, and started taking on bigger fighters, he always has the speed advantage, but usually his opponents have the strength advantage. You know, they're usually much stronger than Pacquiao, and he just outspeeds them. I think he may have both over Bradley, and that might spell a long night for Bradley. But Bradley's young and confident and undefeated, and he presents a challenge that Pacquiao hasn't faced in a long time. A young, undefeated guy who wants to be the next superstar, who's hungry, who's in that place where he smells opportunity. And Pacquiao, you and I have talked about, is he slowing down? Is he getting soft? And his last couple of fights have kind of indicated he is. If that trend, if that pattern continues into the Bradley fight, I mean, it's a fight he could lose. I think another factor you got to look at, and I know they did because they talked about it before actually picking Bradley, is Bradley's head. I mean, all of his fights, his opponents end up cut. And I don't know if he does it deliberately, if it's just his style. I don't think he does it on purpose. I think it's just his style and his bald head that just they come in and it creates problems. I mean, that could create a problem for Manny Pacquiao. When Manny Pacquiao gets cut, he's a different fighter. He doesn't respond to blood. We're talking about Vinny Pacienza. I mean, it's like blood. Bring it on. Pacquiao, it bothers him. If they have a clash of heads, third, fourth, fifth round or so, that could affect Pacquiao. So there are some intangibles in this fight. Having said that, you still got to like Manny Pacquiao. He's faster. He's even going to be stronger, I believe. I think he wins the fight, but I think it's a good fight. Because I think Bradley brings enough youthful energy that he's not going to fold. He's not going to pull. I heard you talking about a Clottey. He's not going to pull a Clottey. He's not going to pull a Mosley. He's not in there just to get paid. I think he's in there to win, and he wants what Pacquiao has. And I think Cotto is about the same thing, even though he's not necessarily a young fighter anymore. I think he's a guy that understands his career is winding down, and I'm glad he's getting the payday. To me, he deserves it. He has been a professional. He is, to me, you take out Pacquiao Mayweather, and he's been one of the best fighters of the last decade, along with Bernard Hopkins. I mean, Cotto is consistent. He's not ducked anybody, and I like Miguel Cotto a lot as a fighter and a human being. I'm glad he's getting this payday. He deserves it. But I think it's more than a payday to him. I think he truly is fighting for a legacy at this point. I think he wants to make his mark on this sport, and he has the opportunity, and I think he's going to do his very best, as will Timothy Bradley. So I like these two fights. I still like Mayweather and Pacquiao to win, but I think the fights are tougher than a lot of people might think.
It's funny because I agree 100%. Pacquiao's a different fighter as soon as he sees his blood, and that is a big issue because Bradley does cut all of his opponents. That's one thing I always wonder about Floyd. We saw Floyd's reaction when he cut his little lip. He got that little teeny cut in the fight against Victor Ortiz when he launched his head at Floyd. And we saw what happened after that. Floyd, he doesn't want to get cut up and stuff, and that's why I think we're going to. I question Floyd's heart. I don't know if he has it. I don't think he's ever displayed it. And people have said, oh well, he got rocked in that fight with Mosley. He displayed heart. No, he didn't. His leg buckled. That's it. Against Cotto, maybe he's got to show us some heart. Maybe if he gets cut, maybe if something happens, that's what I want to see. Just like you said, earlier. We want to see him do something that's going to, make him rise up from something that's, either a knockdown or a severe cut or trailing on the scorecards and then come back with a knockout win. I mean, that's what he needs to get him into that all-time great category. Just an O doesn't do it, in my opinion.
I agree 100%, Bill. You look at a lot of fighters that are in that all-time great category. I mentioned Sugar Ray Leonard and beating Hagler and Pacquiao, although I'm still not, let's hold off the all-time great talk until he's done as well. But moving up and fighting De La Hoya like he did when most of the boxing world thought it was a travesty and a mismatch and he'd get killed, proving everyone wrong. Evander Holyfield, when he fought Mike Tyson, remember, I mean, people were talking about what round he's going to die in, not whether he even has a chance to win. And he proved everyone wrong, and he did that several times in his career. And to me, that's what makes a great, all-time great fighter, is that they're willing to risk. And that's what Mayweather, to a point, hasn't done so far. He hasn't been wanting to risk that undefeated, that zero. I mean, I'm not saying he's fought bums by any means, but I do think he's chosen his opponents carefully.
Of course. And least risk for the maximum reward.
I don't think he's gone into a fight yet where the majority is saying, wow, he could really lose this fight, and this is a big risk for him. I mean, you don't use that word risk with Floyd Mayweather. You just haven't in the past. And I think that's what's missing from his career. It's the one ingredient. He's dominated his opponents. He's looked great at times. I mean, most of the time. But, and he's won his share of belts, you know, and weight classes and so forth. But you haven't associated him with a risky fight yet. And to me, that's the thing that's missing. Cotto is a good step in that direction. But ultimately, to me, would be fighting Martinez for the middleweight title and beating him. He did that. To me, he doesn't need to prove anything else.
If he got in a ring with Martinez, even if he lost, lost,
great point, Bill.
Right.
I'm glad you said that, because you're absolutely right. Even if he lost, the fact that he challenged him and would probably give him a hard fight, a close fight, to me, elevates him, even if he would lose.
Yeah, no, but you know what? We can't. First of all, people have just. What I've been hearing is that people have this thought that Cotto shot, and that Mayweather's fighting a shot fighter. I disagree. I think Mayweather's fighting.
Too.
Yeah, I think he actually is fighting an improved fighter. I think that Cotto's more improved since he's fought Pacquiao now than he was, and it does bring an interesting matchup. Cotto is a guy that has some ring savvy. He knows how to cut the ring off. He's got power. We know that. He's a body puncher. He can work the body. All these things that you need to know how to do to even have a shot at Floyd. But then when you look at Floyd's got hand speed. Floyd's got the counter punching ability. Are we going to see a version of Pacquiao Margarito? Margarito being the Cotto in this one, and Pacquiao being the Mayweather. Are we going to see Mayweather just picking him apart for 12 rounds?
Well, obviously this fight could go several ways. I mean, I wouldn't be completely shocked if Mayweather won 12 rounds to nothing, and it ended up being another Mayweather-Marquez kind of fight where Cotto just chases him all night and is swinging and hitting air, hitting at shadows, and Mayweather just completely dominates him on his way to an easy points victory. I don't think that's going to happen, but I certainly wouldn't be shocked if it did. However, there's some things about this fight that to me do favor Cotto. Obviously, the hand speed is all Floyd Mayweather, but number one's the weight. I already mentioned it. Fighting at 154, I do believe that Cotto was drained when he fought Pacquiao, and I don't think the outcome would have been any different. I'm not saying Cotto would have won, but having to make not just 147, but the catch weight of 145. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you talk to any fighter, and they will tell you, getting in the ring and fighting is the easiest part. The training and the cutting weight is the toughest, and I believe with all my heart that fighters draining themselves to make weight, like Chavez did, like we see Brandon Rios doing, I think that takes as much, if not more, out of a career than the wars inside of the ring. I really think that breaks down a fighter as much as anything and hurts him. And I think, Cotto went into that fight weaker than he would have been had he been even at the 147 limit. I think at 154, he's very strong. I think that he feels good. He's very, very comfortable. So I think that favors him, that he is going to come into the ring at full strength. I also think the two fights that Cotto lost, he lost to guys that can break you down and punish you. And Mayweather's not that type of fighter. Cotto's not going to get punished by Mayweather. He's not going to get beat up by Mayweather like he did against Margarito the first time. Now, he may get outpointed, but I don't think he's going to get beat up. So I think mentally Cotto doesn't have to worry about a beatdown like he suffered in his two losses. And the other thing is, even though Floyd has the speed advantage, which he obviously does, a big one, Cotto's beaten boxers. Remember, Cotto outboxed Shane Mosley when Shane Mosley was still a guy in his prime. And when he moved up and beat Yuri Foreman, who is no Floyd Mayweather, okay, I understand that, but a guy who's very fast and fleet-footed, Cotto tracked him down. In that first round, when I saw Cotto with a much shorter reach, beating him to the jab, getting his jab first, and the much taller, longer, faster guy. That tells me Cotto is a talent. Cotto understands the importance of timing over speed. Cotto is going to make the adjustments and is going to do the technical things he needs to do to reach Floyd. Whether he'll be successful or not, I don't know. But I think Cotto has the ability and the understanding of what it takes to beat a guy who is faster, who does have a better defense. I think he gets it, and we've seen him do it before. I mean, he did it at 140 against Malignaggi, at 147 against Mosley, at 154 against Foreman. And even though none of these guys are Floyd Mayweather, you put them all into one, maybe they equal Floyd Mayweather.
You know what the other thing is, too, Scott?
He's shown he has the ability to beat a boxer.
You know what else I was going to say? And I don't mean to cut you off, but, Cotto's willing to take a few shots to get inside. That's something that Floyd, may not. Well, I'm sure Floyd knows what he's doing, but Cotto's willing to take a couple of shots to bully it up. That now we got a guy like Floyd that's waiting for his shots, waiting to counterpunch. Now he's backpedaling and waiting to counterpunch. Is that an advantage for Cotto?
I think it is, and I think the fact that you mentioned he is such a good body puncher. Floyd's head is just something. It's a hard target to hit. And when you're in there with a guy,
considering how big it is, right? Considering how swollen it is, you would think that the head. He's got to get an extra airplane seat when he flies just for his head, But anyway,
yeah. Ego aside,
yeah.
The body doesn't move, and I thought the guy that had the best shot against Mayweather, and it turned out the guy that probably gave him the toughest fight, in I don't know how long was Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton was a tremendous body puncher, but I think he was more of he was a little on the wild side. It was like rough, physically rough, and Floyd had a little trouble. He didn't just dominate Hatton. I mean, he had a little trouble with him. I think the ref helped a little bit as well. But Cotto's a more refined body puncher. And that's the one thing that a lot of guys haven't done. We haven't seen a true body puncher, someone that's going to go to Floyd's body. They can't get his head. All right, let's break him down to the body. And I'm curious to see if Cotto's able to do that. And I'm sure that's going to be the game plan. Go to Floyd's body. It's easier to hit than his head, I'm sure. Bust him up there, and then maybe midway through the fight, if you're successful, you can move the punches up and see if he's slowed down a little, maybe you can catch him then. I mean, all this on paper, I think, gives Cotto a legitimate shot in this fight and makes it a good fight. Now, whether it'll turn out that way, it could be, like I said, just another dominant, Floyd Mayweather performance. But on paper, at least, I like it. I think there are things about it that favor Cotto and make this a legitimate fight and a tough fight for Mayweather, and one that he gets through. And if he can knock Cotto out, even, I mean, I think he gains something.
Yeah, no, great point. And we'll talk about some points from this past weekend's fights and some crazy stuff about that tomorrow. But before I let you go, and I appreciate you sticking around for the extra time, Sergio Martinez, we keep talking about Floyd and fighting Sergio Martinez and how much we would respect him for that. How do we respect Sergio Martinez, or not really Martinez, but Lou DiBella, when they seem to be waiting to get that shot? When they have, I got an email from a listener that says, what's wrong with Sergio, fighting other middleweights? I mean, he does have the capability of owning the middleweight division. We all know it's risk versus reward and all of that stuff. But you know what? I kind of see a DiBella waiting around in hopes that they get this big payday against Pacquiao or Mayweather. When the guy has so many good fights at middleweight, why doesn't he follow that path?
Yeah, well, I've been saying that now for a long time, that DiBella's good at calling out the smaller guys and saying they need to step up and fight Sergio. But you mentioned Sergio moving up one weight class to fight, a Butte or a Ward, and he gets all hysterical on you and says, he can't do it, he's a middleweight, he can't do it, it's too much weight. And I was like, well, Lou, you expect, Pacquiao, who was a flyweight, at one point to, fight your middleweight champion and Floyd Mayweather. It works both ways. So He's the promoter, and he's just trying to make a big payday for his guy and for himself. I mean, that's all it's about. I can't blame him. I mean, everyone wants Mayweather and Pacquiao. He has the ability, being having a guy like Sergio who's bigger and who.
Yeah, but he could have made if he promoted him the right way and took on these fights and was more busy than he is, it would be a natural demand for the fight.
Well, see, and that's the thing that bothers me. He's too busy
complaining
chasing after fighters that aren't going to fight him than just fighting guys that will.
Right.
And he's talking about Chavez. I mean, I understand Chavez of the other titleists. Chavez probably brings you the most money. And Felix Sturm isn't going to bring you, the kind of money that Chavez will. But you know what? Chavez isn't going to fight you. Stop chasing him. Fight someone else. Just keep your guy busy, and eventually maybe the big fights will come. But in the meantime, you got to keep your guy going. You do have to continue to promote him, and I see your point. And to me, there are a lot of other middleweights that he could fight. You don't have to fight Chavez. I mean, for goodness sakes, Martinez shouldn't be calling out Chavez. It should be the other way around.
The thing is, Scott, we're running out of time. But the thing is that if he would fight these other guys, and if he would invest money in Martinez and create the fan following, the value in Martinez, it would be a natural fit. But what seems to be the norm and the path that everyone's following is go after the top ranked guys. I mean, the Golden Boy guys. Those are the guys that are being marketed that draw the money. So they just put their fighters in these fights, like, no disrespect to Matthew Macklin, but fights like Matthew Macklin in Madison Square Garden. It's hometown for Lou. I mean, same thing. We see Goosen do it all the time. We see Gary Shaw do it all the time. When it comes to the big, huge money fights, it's always as a co-promoter to either Golden Boy or Top Rank. And I think that these guys, if they want to create value in their fighters, they have to open up their checkbooks and make their schedules a little more busy than they are.
Well, in terms of promoting Sergio, I mean, we've talked about before. I'm not sure he's done a horrible job, but at the same time, I do think Sergio just needs to be busy. And going back to the 80s, I mean, that's kind of what we saw. I mean, you'd see a guy regularly. You'd become a fan of his. Because you would see him regularly. That's what we need to do. We need to see Sergio regularly. I think Sergio should be fighting 4 times a year. I mean, we should see him at least 4 times a year. And that will build interest. That will create fans. And the more fans you have, then the greater the demand that one of these other guys step up and fight you. And it all kind of works out if you do that. But you got to start with just keeping your guy busy, in my opinion. That's the main thing, is keeping him busy, keeping him in front of the audience on a regular basis. The guy's upper 30s. I mean, he's not going to be fighting forever. I know he's in great shape, but you know what? You need to keep him busy, keep him active, and keep him in the public eye.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, not everyone can be as busy as B.J. Flores, right?
Number 2, pound for pound, Bill.
Come on, man. I mean, give me a break, though, about that statement, right? I'm not going to deny that it sounded like a little bit of money and everything else, but for him to say how hard he's worked and everything, and when you really look at those opponents, I mean, am I being too hard on B.J. Flores?
No. Look, I think B.J. Flores has some talent. I think he's not a top 10 guy, but I think he's got some talent.
We think because we haven't seen him fight. Darnell Wilson. We just lost Scott. Thanks, Scott. We've got to take a break anyway. But that was Scotty Krause. He did the hits from the 80s, and we were going back and forth. But I just lost him again, and I just can't get aggravated with this friggin' phone system anymore. But anyway, listen, I am going to take a break right now. We should have taken one before. I didn't. I apologize for all the affiliates out there, but here's a break right now.
Now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.TalkinBoxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com. And place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out there. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis is 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And in case you don't have Fight Now on your channel lineup, wondering why, man, you got to call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Visit their website for all the information about the channel, www.fightnow.com. And don't forget, every night is Fight Night on Fight Now, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, visit their website to find out what's on tonight at 10 p.m. Manny Pacquiao, June 9th. He's going to fight Timothy Bradley, looks like. Manny Pacquiao, according to Team Pacquiao. Pacquiao signed his half of the contract, and they're still waiting for Timothy Bradley to sign his. You know, after putting it in the press like this, Timothy Bradley has no choice but to sign, and that could be just another one of those kind of slimeball moves that Bob Arum has a tendency of doing every now and then, you know, just to make him get to that contract, get his pen ready a little quicker when he starts seeing it all over the place, that they're going to fight and that it's in Timothy Bradley's hands. It's a marketing ploy. It's not really marketing. It's more of a business ploy to get, to force Timothy Bradley, if he was considering maybe holding out for some more money or try to get something else in the contract. It's going to be a lot harder for him to negotiate at this point. But then, as Team Top Rank said, or Team Pacquiao or Top Rank said, when we signed Bradley to a promotional contract, there were stipulations in that contract about Manny Pacquiao. So they knew that this fight was coming up. Jean Pascal had to, make a statement, an apologetic statement. Apparently, on Twitter, he announced that he lost a bet when he took the New England Patriots over the Scum Giants in the Super Bowl, and lost his Benz, his Mercedes-Benz S550. Nice car. And apparently he was criticized for that, and he had to do a following statement. He did a follow-up statement, and it said, and I quote, "First and foremost, I would like to apologize to anyone who's offended about my wager with my friend. As an athlete, I'm extremely passionate about sports, and sometimes my emotions get the best of me. I really enjoyed the Super Bowl game. It was very intense. My friend and I made a friendly wager about the game. It did involve my car, but I neglected to mention that my friend would only get to keep my car for a month. Times are still extremely hard and difficult for all of us, and I would never make a mockery out of these hard economic times by giving away a car. The wager I made was between a close friend of mine, and it was simply that, a friendly wager. I do not condone gambling of any kind. This has definitely been a lesson for me. In the future, I'll be more responsible with what I choose to put out on social media. Again, I apologize. Jean Pascal, you don't have nothing to apologize for. Come on, man. You made the money. You worked hard for your money. If you want to bet your car in a game, so be it. Michael Jordan was betting $1 million on a hole in a game of golf. I can't believe that people would get in an uproar and blame the economic situation that the world is going on through right now and point the finger at a guy like Jean Pascal who could afford to bet his car. You know what? He did not have to make an apology, in my opinion. If you have the money to get, how come Floyd Mayweather, he posts his winning tickets online. He brags about winning 40,000 here, 100,000 there. How come he never issues an apology for that? He gets pictures of him cashing out money, stacks and stacks of money. Come on, man. What it shows me is a character. It shows me that Jean Pascal felt guilty because he didn't want to offend anybody during these times. But in my opinion, Jean Pascal has nothing to apologize for. If he loses a bet, it's a friendly bet, whatever, so be it. If he can go out and buy another one of those cars, maybe he's already got a couple of them, fine. Nobody's in a worse financial state than me, and the bottom line is I don't feel offended by Jean Pascal pissing away his car in a bet, and I honestly believe that. Anybody who was outraged about him betting a friend and losing his car, whether he's full of beans or not, that it was only for a month. You used to race cars for Reggies, man. It would be a Reggie race, my car against you. We race. Whoever wins gets the other guy's car. It's the same thing. I don't think Jean Pascal had to apologize for anything. Nothing. Anyway. Sauerland Promotions. They signed junior middleweight prospect Golden Jack Kolke, sorry. He's got a record of 10-0, 6 knockouts. He will be fighting officially under Sauerland events on the undercard of the heavyweight fight between Alexander Povetkin and Marco Captain Huck, which is scheduled for February 25th. So I guess we'll see him under the Sauerland banner then. So we'll wait and see. And speaking about German fighters, how about Arthur Abraham? He's scheduled to return to the ring March 31st in Germany, and he's facing that ever tough and very busy TBA. And he said, hey, my last fight, which was a 5th-round knockout over Pablo Oscar Natilio Freitas back in January, he said, this is the first step in the right direction. I'm going to have 1 or 2 more fights, and then I'm going to have a world title again. His main goal in the sport is to get another world title shot. So I like Arthur Abraham. I wish he would go back to middleweight because at super middleweight, fighting the upper echelon of fighters, he's fallen a little short. You remember Peter Hanraths? He was a guy that worked for Universum for a while. He actually was responsible for finding several fighters like the Klitschko's, Felix Sturm, Jürgen Brammer, Darius Milchalski. All of those guys, apparently, we know that he left the sport. It's been 7 years already. It's actually over 7 years ago because of his health. His health was deteriorating pretty bad. He says, well, I'm back. He says he feels good. I don't have to have anything other than I'm back in the business here. I'm back with Universum. I don't care about titles. I'm just doing what I want to do. He's 66 years old now, and we'll see what he can do. He's got some. He says I have some new boxers who want to fight for Universum. There's a lot for us to do. So we'll see if that can help Universum a little bit. We all know that they're struggling a little bit in terms of their level of fighters that they have. Thomas Delorme. He's a fighter that a lot of people regard as one of the hottest welterweight prospects out there. He's 13-0 with 10 knockouts, and he's out of Puerto Rico. Apparently, boxing is second fiddle to him. It's his passion. but what he really loves to do is draw. And he just graduated from college and as an architect. He says, drawing is my first love, but my dad is an engineer, and I grew up in that environment working with geometry and dealing with the spaces available. I started with small drawings and models and really enjoyed what I was doing. Gradually, I improved through specialized classes and then jumped into a formal, educational, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, degree, whatever. He says he's going to be returning to the ring on February 17th when he fights Jose Reynoso, which is a good fight. We'll be watching that one on Showbox. So, yep, he graduated 3.5 grade point average, which is pretty damn good. 3.5. The only thing I know about 3.5 is it used to be the size of a diskette, right? Computer diskette. But anyway, we have Jose Asogun, 30-0, 14 knockouts. He's hanging around as the number one ranked contender and feels that he's become the most avoided fighter in the sport. He says, I've done everything that was required of me to get my shot at a world title, and he's predominantly talking about Eric Morales. He says, for some reason I've been bypassed, but I'm not going to go anywhere. All these guys can run and hide. All these guys can run, but they can't hide. And I'm going to stay on top, ranked at number one in the world. It's my dream to wear the WBC strap around my waist since I first got ranked, and I will not be denied. Believe that. And he's a good fighter. I don't know about wearing that thing strapped around your waist, with all of the controversy that surrounds them, at least in my opinion. But anyway, don't forget we got Chevelle Halbach fighting on March 2nd in Tampa, Florida. It's the first time that she's going to be the main event in Tampa, Florida. It's the first time any female fight is going to be the main event in Florida. And she's going to be fighting Terry Blair, which was supposed to be a title fight, but apparently Team Blair has put themselves out of reach in terms of purse demands. So it's going to be just a regular old fight. And I was looking forward to a title fight there. Hey, listen, I got to take a unscheduled break, and we'll be back in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Baby Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
Mike Tyson looked like he put on some pounds. He was fat. He went into McDonald's and he just said to them, hey, give me 6 of everything on the menu. He put on 2 watches and covered 2 time zones. I'm talking fat here. Got on a scale the other day and it said, come on, one of you guys got to get off. Last thing I heard is that he jumped into the ocean and he left a ring around the continent. He's fat.
Boxing with Billy C.
Hi, this is Bert Sugar, and you're listening to one of my favorite radio shows and one of my favorite announcers, Billy C., right here.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
And we're back. It's amazing. I can breathe now. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. Radio Show. You're watching us on the Fight Now channel, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Combat Sports. It's here right now, and it's called Fight Now. Visit their website for all the information, www.fightnow.com. Manny Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley, June 9th. We got May 5th, Floyd Mayweather Jr. against Mayweather-Cotto. 2 good fights, man. Now, who's going to win in the pay-per-views? Cotto, Mayweather, of course. Because people know both of those guys. Mayweather-Cotto fought under the top-ranked banner for a while, became a household name. He is a household name. He's very popular, not only here in the States, but, of course, in Puerto Rico. Floyd Mayweather, well, arguably the biggest draw in the sport. So you got another victory for Team Mayweather here because they're going to draw a lot more all around than Pacquiao-Bradley, even though Pacquiao-Bradley is probably the better matchup in terms of, I mean, on paper, Cotto Mayweather is good too, but I think it's more realistic. And one thing I respect Floyd about more is the fact that he's moving up to weight now, moving up in weight to challenge basically Cotto's belt, junior middleweight belt. And we all know that Floyd happens to have a welterweight title. And here's the interesting part. We've been talking about the WBC, and I've been talking about the WBC and how I think that Jose Sulaiman has totally lost his mind. Yeah, I do. I think he's totally lost his mind, 100%. And the thing is that in Mayweather's defense, what happens with his title? As far as the WBC is concerned, if you move up and want to challenge somebody else for another title in another weight class, you vacate your title. What do you want to bet right now? That the WBC does not make Floyd vacate his title, even if he beats Cotto. Then they're going to wait and they're going to say, well, it's up to Floyd to decide if he's going to keep our belt or not. Be interesting to see how Jose Sulaiman backpedals on that issue. When if any other fighter even moves up in weight to fight just a pushover fight, just a tune-up fight, just to get the ring rust off fight, they strip him of the belt. And speaking of stripping of the belt, does anybody ever really, to follow the bouncing WBC belt, follow the bouncing WBC belt. Sergio Martinez was the middleweight champ, Then the WBC, for I don't know what reason, they decide to elevate him to the diamond-studded super champion of the middleweight division. And then they let Chavez Jr. fight for the vacated title. Now, they're looking at, Team Martinez is looking at a fight with Julio Cesar Chavez to decide who the real champion is. The problem is that they're both considered champions. They're both considered world champions, and they're both considered champions in the same sanctioning body, WBC. So it's like, give me a break here, But I do give Floyd credit for fighting Cotto. As far as Manny Pacquiao and Timothy Bradley, well, I think Scotty made a great point about the head clash, the headbutts, the cuts, the blood, and how Manny Pacquiao just does not respond to blood very well. As a matter of fact, he starts pouring at it, and can't concentrate. I think if I'm Timothy Bradley, I try the best I can to get him cut. And then he's got a chance, because other than that, he doesn't. And, while we're at it, and I know I've been on a tear with giving quality here today. I've been agreeing with him. I disagree with him about the Joshua Clottey thing. I don't think Joshua Clottey was a guy that was told to lay down. Although, if Timothy Bradley fights the way Joshua Clottey does, I'll be changing my tune on the very next show. But after that fight, But I just think it was a case of similar to what happens with fighters when they step in with a Klitschko. It's easy to talk about all you gots to do is. And then you get in the ring and it's like, huh? What? It's not that easy, man. And I think that's the same situation here. The bottom line is, I don't know. I just think that, if Bradley doesn't fight his normal fight, I guess I'm going to have to agree with my man Given. But I just think Joshua Clottey was in a situation where he became a punching bag. And wasn't able to do much. You want to remember Chris Areola? He became a punching bag. What's his name? The dreadlock guy, Shannon Briggs. He was a punching bag. Yeah, he says it's because of his ripped bicep. But come on. BJ Flores. I just can't get over it. I just guys like him is what's bad for the sport. Unfortunately, the sport has evolved. Thinking about the hits from the 80s that we just did. And thinking about all those fights that were available, all the fights that we got to see on a regular basis, on regular TV. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday night, all those nights. You'd watch boxing all over the place. They had several different shows on, and yet today, we don't give some of those fighters the credit they deserve. And there were so many good fighters. I mean, Scotty mentioned a couple. John, how about Bum City Bumpus? John Bum City Bumpus. I mean, when you look at those guys and who they fought, Glenwood Brown, Roberto Duran, Lloyd Honeygram, Robbie Sims, the list goes on. Hector Macho Camacho, Harry Arroyo, he was a good fighter. The list goes on and on. The Mayweather brothers, the Floyd and Roger, and of course Jeff, all quality fighters. Harold Graham, Dana Rosenblatt, come on, Eric Lucas. That's more recent, but still. We don't see that today. We see a fighter that he stays busy and then he gets a world title shot. What's happening to all the fighters that are legit and that are being forced to fight each other? I'm going to a great event this weekend up at the Mohegan Sun, and I want you to come with us, so check it out. Get some tickets by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com. And, I looked at the card. There's some good fights on that card. Mighty Mike Aranudis is returning to the ring. Did you catch that? That was pretty quiet. It's only a 6-round fight. It's probably one of the, I guess it's one of the least quality matchups they have on that card, to tell you the truth. But all the other ones seem good. The main event, Derek Puinis against Demetrius Andrade. That's a fight that I'm looking forward to seeing. Speaking of seeing some fights, don't forget about Young Guns, February 11th at the Hershey Center in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. In case you're wondering where the hell Mississauga is, it's about 15 minutes outside of Toronto, 10, 15 minutes. So not a bad drive here from the States, that's for sure. So anyway, that's all coming up. You can get tickets for that, too, by visiting www.billycboxing.com. Click the fight posters, man. All those fight posters that are on there will link you right to where you can get tickets. And speaking of tickets, don't forget about the Billy C box. That's right, man. If you buy a ticket to a boxing event, a live boxing event, all you got to do is send me a copy of those tickets before the show, of course, and before the event that you bought the tickets for. And we will give you a Billy C buck for any seat you get, regardless of where they're sitting. We'll get 5 Billy C bucks for any ringside seat. Now, if it's a special, like the Young Guns show in the Hershey Center in Mississauga, or the Mohegan Sun event that's taking place this weekend on Friday Night Fights, if you're going to go to one of those, because we support them and we're working with them, we'll double it up. We'll triple it. Listen, here's the thing. For any ticket, we'll give you 5 Billy C bucks. For a ringside seat, we'll give you 10. And in case you don't know what Billy C bucks are, it's Billy C bucks you can use for anything we sell. T-shirts, the Hall of Fame, all that stuff. So make sure you get some tickets and then send us copies. You can email them to me, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, or you can fax them, 845-314-9612.
Wake up. It's time for the It's Too Early for a Trivia Question.
All right, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. Question is the same one from yesterday that none of you got right yet, so we'll continue to do it until somebody gets it right. Or I'm going to recycle it and not give you the answer like last time. What former world champion was recruited not once but twice from the audience to substitute for a boxer who was not able to appear? And I've given you guys the big hint. It's prior to 1920. Prior to 1920. And this is a fighter that was literally sitting in the seats watching the preliminary bouts when he got tapped on the shoulder and asked to fill in for a boxer that wasn't able to appear. Not once, but twice. He's a former world champion. Who is he? If you know the answer, email me, Billy at TalkinBoxing.com. It's that simple. It's www.billycboxing.com. But to email me the right answer, it's TalkinBoxing, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
This day in boxing history.
And today's This Day in Boxing History is being sponsored by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you need an attorney, you need Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Make sure you tell them Billy C sent you. On this day, February 7th, back in 1997, Lennox Lewis knocks out Oliver McCall, in the 5th round to regain the vacated WBC World Heavyweight title. And that took place, on this day, February 7th, back in 1997. Hey, man, I apologize for not taking the break, but, hey, stuff happens. Don't forget, tomorrow, our blast from the past is going to feature Carlos Ortiz, former world champion. We will try to get the feature fighter in, which is Rocky Matoli, and our heavyweight spotlight will be shining on Tommy Burns. And keep your eyes peeled. We're scheduled to have Harold Letterman from HBO on the show this week, so I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. So make sure you stick around for that. But most important thing that I need you guys to remember, to hope that I feel a lot better. I don't even know if I feel better than I did yesterday. I'm in a trance. But the bottom line is one of the things the most important thing you got to remember. To make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. The Fight Now channel, of course. There's only one, man. Call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your lineup. It's that simple. FightNow.com for all the information. And don't forget, every night is Fight Night on Fight Now, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out their website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.